So I'll begin by saying, I'm here for you today. I'm here to make a difference, hopefully, in your life. I say that because when we talk about building bridges, bridges start with you. The bridge starts from your head to your heart, to your stomach, to your feet. Can you think of the idea that's going to change the world? Do you have the emotion to be able to deliver against it? Do you have a taste and a palate for it that helps you to stomach it day in and day out? But most important, are you going to use your feet to get it done? So I say, I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. I say that, and my wife is in the back. She said, that's very provocative for a group of women to say that. But I say that for a particular reason. I say it because I think the people that are sitting in this room, when your feet hit the floor in the morning, you're excited about changing the world, one place, one space at a time. So the space that we serve in, and this is the space that we serve in, when you walk through it, you're better and that space is better because you're being all that you can be. So again, my goal today is helping you to be all that you can be. So therefore, I say again, I love you and there's nothing you can do about it. But with that being said, it's going to take all of you to show up to be able to make it happen. And to be able to do that, every great leader has gone through a watershed moment. Every great leader has gone through a crucible. That crucible we sometimes run from. The thing I would say is embrace the crucible, because that crucible helps you to be the best you that you possibly can be. That crucible takes you to another level, again, building bridges. You see, as a child, I grew up running. I grew up sprinting. I grew up sprinting through life. I did it for two particular reasons. One, because I was good at it. I had world-class speed. It took me to college, took me to university, opened doors that I thought would never be open, gave me opportunity, gave me award and reward for being fast. But the second reason that I was sprinting, because I wanted that success. I wanted to achieve success like my father had achieved, like my mother had achieved. And so I looked at them as role models and said, this is what I want. But when I want it at 40. I can't wait. I need to have that success at 40. And you ask why. The why is my father passed when he was 42. So think about the burden on a 10-year-old child of a father that had success and at 42 passing away from exhaustion, taking care of 6 kids with 3 jobs. That's what the burden that was placed on my shoulder. So sometimes we put burdens on our shoulders that are unnecessary. So I had to have success by 40. By 40, I accomplished a lot, but I accomplished nothing because I sprinted from place to place trying to get this thing they call success. But for you, the thing I would come back at and say is success is not a destination, but a journey. So let's enjoy the journey as we take the journey of what we're calling life and building these bridges. Are you enjoying the journey? Are you making a difference in the space that you're serving? I had a life coach, and she told me, she said, you know, the dash is living you. You're not living the dash. And you're going, well, what is the dash? See, that dash is something that we all have in common. You may not realize it. And it's kind of morbid to say it, but there's a time on that will say born this date, past this date. In the middle, there's a dash. That dash is going to define the legacy that we have and that we're going to live to. Are we living to the legacy? Are we living the dash and living our particular legacy? With that being said, the life coach said, James, you need to slow down. You may not be able to tell it, but I am way past 40 now. You may not be able to see it on the face. You can't tell. I'm way past 40. Being past 40, she said you need to slow down. And there are 5 events, long distance events, that I need you to participate in that will slow you down physically. Maybe not slow you down from a speech standpoint, but from physically, it will slow you down. And the 2 things I want you to get out of this running these races, the 2 things I want you to finish, and I want you to allow your senses to come to life, those 5 senses to come to life. So I went through the first 4, the 3K, the 5K, the 10K, the half marathon. Did very good in it, finished it. But my senses were horrible. I felt the blisters that were on my feet, the aches and pains that were in my body, the stars that were floating around my head. I saw nothing. I didn't even want to get up out of bed after running these particular races. So I couldn't tick the box of allowing the senses to come to life. The only race I had left was the marathon. So my story around the crucible moment and helping you to build a bridge is this marathon. So I started on the marathon, and at the beginning, they began with trouble to begin with. See, what they didn't tell me is I would be running with 35,000 of my closest friends. They didn't tell me that the start line wasn't the start line, that we had to start a mile and a half back before we got to the start line. And so therefore, I would say to you, first recognize in your life, where's your start line? Is your start line where it needs to be? Because you can't get to the finish line unless you understand where the start line is. And then also understand the environment that you serve in. And because I was serving with 35,000 other people, I couldn't find my pace. I couldn't find my stride. So by mile 10, I was completely exhausted. Have you ever been exhausted in your life where you said, I'm giving up? It doesn't make a difference. I can't make a difference here. I decided that I would go to mile 17. You ask why mile 17, and when I write my memoirs, I'll have a chapter that says mile 17. When I got to mile 17, my wife and I had made an agreement. She would meet me at mile 5, she would meet me at mile 10, and she would meet me at mile 17. And she met me at mile 17, and I had made up in my mind that at mile 17, I was done. I couldn't finish. I was mentally exhausted, physically exhausted. Hams were torn up. My mind, I was physically and mentally just distraught and couldn't get to the place where I needed to be. So we were going to grab hands, kiss, and walk off and go home and enjoy a nice bottle of wine. She saw me, and she saw that I was distraught. When I got to mile 17, she said, here's some Gatorade. You need to hydrate. She said, you got too many clothes on. Take this shirt off that's under you and put the shirt back on. And I said, I'm really ready to go. Let's head to the car. She looked at me, gave me a kiss, looked at me in the eye and said, I'll see you at the finish. And after I said a few choice words about her, I had to make a decision on what it is that I needed to do. And for you, this is what I would challenge you to think about. When you get to the crucible moment, first recognize that you're at the crucible moment, because you can't solve it until you recognize that you're sitting in the middle of it. You can't get out of a job, an addiction, a bad relationship until you really realize I'm in this particular crucible moment. Be present in the crucible moment, because again, it makes you a better person. It helps you to be laser focused on delivering against what your legacy is going to be. The second part is in your resilience. It takes resilience to get you where you need to be. You see, I had prepared over 150 miles that I had to run for this 24.6 mile race. I had a personal coach that taught me how to hydrate. I had a personal nutrition that taught me what I should be eating. And for 6 months, I trained to get through this marathon. And here I was, suffering at mile 17. So have resilience through the crucible moment that you're at. And then to the feet. Respond. For every action, there's a reaction. What's your reaction? Is it defeat, retreat, or is it to go forward? You have to make that decision. After my wife walked off, I decided to take one step towards the finish line. You see, that one step towards the finish line wasn't me in my mind saying I'm going from mile 17 to mile 26. It was just saying take one step towards it. I took one step again towards that finish line, and I decided that it's time to get up. It's time to move to making sure that I could cross the finish line. And then something happened, and the second part of what that coach had said, the senses came alive. I began to see or hear birds chirping in the background that I'd never heard before, and a crowd cheering. I was able to taste the air going into my lungs. My feet were walking on clouds, and like I wasn't even moving. And the next thing I did, I looked up and I was crossing the finish line because I became in the zone. Have you ever been in the zone? When you get things done and you don't know how you did it. I crossed the finish line and my life has never been the same. So I say to you, if you want to make a difference, this is a great thing to sit in this venue and have all the great people sitting around you and hear great speeches. But if you really want to make a difference, understand and recognize that you're in the crucible moment. Understand and be resilient through it, because your life lenses have allowed you to be successful in driving you through that. You've been set up to succeed. And the last piece of this, respond. Put one foot in front of another, go towards the finish line, and achieve the great success that you would want to have. With that being said, I'll see you at the top. I'll see you at the finish line. But most important, I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it.